Good morning. Today I'll be presenting my technology management project, a complete project report on cybersecurity management, and looking at it from a strategic business angle rather than a purely technical one. Let me take you to some key points. Here's what I'll cover. I'll start with the problem and why it matters at a strategic level. Then I'll go through the project background and objectives, the research and methodology I used, the key findings from the research, my 4 recommendations, and finally how delivery plans work. So what is the actual problem? The numbers tell the story. The average data breach now costs $4.45 million. It takes an organization 277 days on average. That's 9 months to even detect that a breach has happened, and the global cybersecurity spending hit $188 billion last year, growing at a 15% annually. Those last two numbers together are the problem. Spending is going up, breach costs are going up, more money is not producing better outcomes. The reason, and this is the core finding of this project, is that organizations don't have one security system. They have 15 separate tools that don't talk to each other. Firewalls from one vendor, cloud monitors from another, endpoint projects from the third. When a threat moves between those systems, it goes undetected without a single platform to fully picture it and get the full picture. And then there's the leadership dimension. Cybersecurity in most organizations sits inside IT. It doesn't get cross-functional attention it needs at a board level. This means when a breach does happen, and the decision needs to be made fast, involving legal, financial operations, there's often no structure in place to make them happen. This is a strategic management problem, not a technology one. This project built on directly proposal I submitted previously, which identified this issue. This report takes a proposal to completion with a proper evidence base, a methodology, and recommendation that can actually be implemented. The problem aim is to design and implement what I'm calling an integrated cybersecurity management framework, an ICMF, that addresses fragmentation, reduces breach detection time, ensures regulatory compliance, and puts cybersecurity at board level. All of this within 12 months implementation guidelines. I defined 5 objectives to make this measurable. First, establish a cybersecurity steering committee by the end of February 2026. Second, implement zero trust architecture across all access points by September 2026. Third, deploy an integrated SIEM and SOAR platform connected to all systems by September 2026. Fourth, achieve a 40% reduction in the meantime to detect security incidents by December 2026. And fifth, achieve full GDPR and NIS2 compliance by December 2026. Each of these is specific, measurable, and tied to a deadline. Research approach. For the research, I use secondary research, existing published sources rather than surveys or interviews. That was a deliberate choice. This problem already extensively documented in academic journals and industrial reporting. Primary research would have had added months of data collection for evidence that already exists in better forms. I drew 4 types of source academic literature from peer-reviewed journals. Industry data from IBM, GITA, and NIST. Regulatory framework, GDPR, and NIS2, and case study. Primarily goggles beyond COP to test whether the framework is actually deliverable at scale. One limitation worth acknowledging: secondary research skewed towards success stories. Organizations where implementation fails don't usually publish a case study about it. The risks register and phase delivery plan are partly a response to that. Methodology: two framework phase shapes the project approach. PMBOK gave a delivery plan its structure, initiation, planning, execution, monitoring, and closure. The key thing about PMBOK here is the milestone linked budget. Funding for each phase only unlocks once the previous phase has been delivered. That prevents the program from consuming resources without the board knowing what has been achieved. Kotak 8-step change model ran alongside technical implementations. Zero Trust challenges how every member of staff log in and what they can access. If people don't understand why those changes are happening, they will push back and find workaround that undermine the whole framework. Kota gave the human side of the rollout of a proper structure, building urgency, forming a coalition, communicating the vision, and anchoring the change in culture. Process research put numbers on this. Projects with strong change management are 6 times more likely to meet their objective than those with poor change management. It is not optional. It's what makes technical investment actually work. The overall methodology is hybrid, broadened, sequential across four phases, with agile practices inside phase 3, where legacy integration will throw up surprises that need fast adaptation. Project artifacts. 3 project management artifacts supported the delivery plan. The stakeholder matrix identifies 7 key groups from the executive board and CISO through all staff and the SIME vendor. Each has a different stake in programs and need a different engagement approach. This shaped the communication plan and determined who needed to be involved in design decision versus just informed of outcomes. The risk register identified 5 key high risk with organizational resistance to zero trust rated critical. High likelihood, high impact. The mitigation is phased rollout and genuine stakeholder engagement from day one, not just communication about the decision already made. And the Gantt chart shows the 4 phases across 12 months with go review points at the end of each phase. These 3 artifacts weren't decorative. They were used to make actual planning and budget decisions throughout the project. Finding visibility failures. Finding one is the visibility failure. When security tools don't share data, nobody has the complete picture. Here's how it plays out in practice. An attack starts on a compromised laptop. It moves into a cloud storage, then into a financial system. Each step is visible to different secondary tools. None of those tools talk to each other. No single platform sees enough to raise alarm. IBM 2024 research attributes a large part of the 277-day detection average to exactly this. The threat is there and active. The architecture makes it invisible. SIEM directly addresses this by pulling data from each system into one place and using the machine learning to identify patterns that cross platform boundaries. It sees what the individual tools can't. Finding 2-3. Finding 2 is response latency. Even when a threat is detected, the manual review process introduces dangerous delay. An analyst gets an alert. They try to understand it. They escalate it. They wait for approval. then containment starts. By the point the attacker has usually moved on, SOAR changes this. The movement the movement a threat the, sorry, the moment a threat is confirmed, containment begins automatically. No queue, no handovers, no variation based on who is working the shift. Akachaf 2025 research confirmed that organizations running automated COAR responses achieved substantially faster containment than those relying on manual processes, and consistency matters as much as automated response don't vary with analyst fatigue or knowledge gap. Finding three is the government gap. When cybersecurity lives entirely within IT, it lacks the cross-functional authority that real incidents require. Decisions affecting finances, legal, and operations need sign-off from those functions fast. Without a government structure, those approvals stall. Sheikh and Siponen 2023 research across multiple sectors shows this consistently. Absent board ownership means slower decisions, weaker compliance, and worse incident outcomes. Regardless of what the technology look like, governance isn't a nice to have. It is an authority structure everything else depends on. The ICMF solution, the Integrated Cybersecurity Management Framework. Zero Trust architecture addresses the access control and lateral movement problem. It operates on three principles: verify every access request explicitly, give user only the access they actually need, and segment the network so that if someone does get in, they can't move freely through everything. CIEM and SOAR together addresses the visibility failure and the response lag, unified data machine learning detection, and automated containment. The governance and workforce program addresses the leadership gap, putting the authority structure in place before the technical rollout and making sure the people running the system are properly trained to use them. The key point is that these three components need to work together. That's why they make different from buying simple tools. That's why they make this different from buying simple tools. Recommendation 1: establish cybersecurity steering committee before the technical work begins. CISO and CFO, Chief Risk Officer, and at least one non-executive director. Quarterly meeting, authority over investments, decision, risk threshold, and incident escalation. This is the highest priority recommendation because every subsequent step requires cross-functional decision, and without this structure, those stalls. Shaikh and Siponen shows consistently that board-level ownership correlation with better compliance and faster incident response, and crucially, this doesn't require procurement, just a governance decision. The fastest to implement and most important to do first. Recommendation 2: implement zero trust architecture across all primary access points during phase 2 and 3 following the NIST 800/200 principle. The case of zero trust is simple. The network parameter doesn't really exist anymore. Staff work from home, from personal devices, through third-party apps. A perimeter model that trusts anything inside the network can't secure it. Google Beyond Corp proved it worked at scale. They moved their entire global workforce into zero trust Zero Trust, eliminated the VPN, and ended up with better security and better user experience. The main risk is resistance from staff. The mitigation is starting with lower risk departments and involving staff in design decision, not just announcing change to them. Recommendation 3 and 4. CIME aggregates log data from all systems and uses machine learning to flag anomalies. SOAR automates containment the moment a threat is confirmed. Together, they deliver the unified visibility and automated response that manual fragmented processes can match. On vendor selection, open standards matter more than features. Proprietary platforms create leverage problems when pricing shifts or the roadmap changes. Get exit terms written in the contract before signing and run a proof of concept first. Akachaf identified legacy integration as the most common CIME failure problems. Find that out in a controlled phase 2 pilot, not mid development. Phase 4. Invest in the workforce capabilities and awareness. The secure team need hands-on CIME and Zero Trust training before the system are signed off, as the operational misconfigured alert thresholds are a leading cause of CIME underperformance, and that's a training problem, not a technical problem. For the wider organization, training needs to be role specific. IBM research confirmed human behavior featured in most report breaches. Financial, IT, and HR face different risks. Their training should reflect the generic campaign move the needle less than targeted ones. Cost benefit analysis. Let me put the financial case in place. The total implemented cost is estimated at between 380 pounds, 380,000 pounds, and 660,000 pounds. That covers Zero Trust, the CIME SOAR platform over 3 years, and governance and training program. The average breach cost converted to sterling is over 3.5 million pounds. That based on IBM 2024 configures. So the entire program costs between 1/10 and 1/5 of what a single average breach costs. The return doesn't depend on the ICMF preventing every incident, even a significant reduction in frequency or severity produces a positive return within 2 to 3 years, and that's before you factor the GDPR fines. Up to 4% of global annual turnovers, or the reputational damage that outlasts the technical incidents by years. The financial argument for action is not difficult to make. Delivery plan. The delivery run across 4 stages over 12 months. Phase 1, January to February. Covered risk assessment, stakeholder mapping, and getting steering committee in place. This is the foundational technical work starts until governance is live. Phase 2 in March and April covers design procurement, Zero Trust architecture design, CIME or SOAR vendor selection, and proof of concept to test legacy integration before full commitment. Phase 3, from May to September, is main build, Zero Trust deployment, CIME or SOAR deployment, and full system integration. This is the longest phase because it is the most complex. Phase 4, from October to December, covering security teams first, then organization wide awareness session, and the compliance audit and KPI review to confirm the program has delivered against the objective. At the end of each phase, there's a go review. Budget for the next phase only releases once the current phase has demonstrably been delivered. That limits financial exposure to keep steering committee properly informed throughout. Conclusion. Spending more hasn't fixed the problem. spending more hasn't fixed the problem. Okay, and it won't on its own. The issue is a fragmented tool, weak governance, and undertrained team produce poor security outcome regardless of budgets. The ICMF connects with fragmentation, separates zero trust, closes the access gaps. CIME also creates unified visibility and automate response governance, provide the authority to act when it matters. The organization that manage cyber risks well aren't always the biggest spenders. They are the ones where security is built into how the business operates. Visibility is not visible at the board level, embedded in how the staff works, supported by technology that actually communicates across systems. That is what Framework is designed to achieve. Thank you.